Those deer just crossed my path as I was about to tell my story. I think it's a good sign and a good time. There are things in this world that we just do not understand, that we don't have explanations for, and that really make us question the nature of who we really are and where we really come from. Back in 2014, I was dancing at a traditional ceremony. After the ceremony was done, I walked way out into a field where I had parked by myself. So I had my little son with me, and I put him in the car, put him to sleep, and then I was standing at my trunk getting undressed from my regalia, which is what I wore to dance. There was no drugs and no alcohol, but I will say that there was a heightened vibrational energy because we had just come out of ceremony. Traditional indigenous ceremonies are very powerful. I was standing there changing, and all of a sudden I got this overwhelming feeling. I could feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And so I looked up, and standing maybe about 10 feet away from me was this shadowy being. And he stood maybe this tall to me. And we locked eyes, and all I could do was stare back as I was frozen in place. I was honestly terrified. And I've told this story before, and I wanted to tell it again instead of resharing the video, because so many people have tried to tell me, don't be afraid, don't be scared, you shouldn't be scared. And I really would like for these people to experience what I experienced and other people who share their experiences have shared. Because until you have experienced those things, you do not know what it feels like to be in that situation and how to deal with that very real fear that will arise. And in fact, that fear that I felt, that paralyzing fear, is what keeps me knowing to this day that what I experienced was very real. Because our nervous systems do not lie to us when it comes to interacting with something like that. And if you were to come across a mountain lion or a grizzly bear or something like that, I guarantee you, you will be scared. And your nervous system will be telling you that this animal in front of you has more power than you and could take you out if it wanted to. And so that is what my nervous system was telling me the moment that I locked eyes with that shadowy being, whatever it was. And so I was just locked there in fear. And my friend ended up coming up over the hill where, because my car was parked down in like this valley. So he came up over this hill and he saw that being. He saw us locked eyes like that. And he yells at it. He goes, "Hey." And he starts chasing it. And this being took off running like the best way I can describe it is I saw a video of a bat running. That being took off running just like that. It wasn't like a human, wasn't like an animal, wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before, and that scared me even more. He chased it off to the edge of the woods, and then it disappeared in the woods, and he came back. And he told me that that was what our people call, so he is Oglala Lakota, and I am Ihanktuan Dakota. So we are both from the Ocheri Shakuin, or the 7 council fires of the Great Sioux Nation. So he told me that what we had just seen is what's called a Wiwila, or a little person. And I was told by another elder that the story of the Wiwila, or the little people, is that they had come from another planet because their sun or their star burnt out, and they came here to live here because their home was gone. So they live on a different schedule than us. They live out in these, forests, secluded forest areas, and they only come out at night, and we come out during the day. And so that's why we don't often run into them, and that we have to be careful because sometimes they will take us. And so that's why he chased it off. Now, I've had years to think about this story and to dissect what feels right to me and what doesn't. And to this day, I will never shame anyone for sharing that they were scared when they come across an otherworldly being, because for me, that's a marker that tells me that what you experienced was real and that your nervous system actually works. Because if you're not scared, I think there's something a little wrong with you when you come across beings like that. Because where's your survival instincts? Also, with all of the stories that I've heard about the little people over the years, I just don't think that this being that I saw really fits the description of little people. First of all, it was about this tall to me, and it was like a shadow. It was really dark outside, but this being was darker than the dark. But here's what really gets me is that it willingly ran off when my friend chased it. So that tells me that it didn't mean me any harm, and it had respect for our boundaries. One of the ideas that resonated with me most over all the years that I've been looking into these things because of my own interaction that piqued my interest. And I heard that we exist here in a 3D reality. And if you think of the visible light spectrum, there is only so much that we as humans can see, and it's a very small amount of the visible light spectrum. Let's apply that to other dimensions which we do know exist. We're in the era of disclosure now. We know that we're not alone in this universe, and so we have to start thinking beyond. And being that I believe that this being meant me no harm, but absolutely wanted me to see it, and combining that I had just come out of ceremony, so I was in somewhat of an altered state of consciousness simply because that's what ceremony does for us. I believe that this was a being from the fifth dimension or higher dimensions that was coming and inserting itself into this dimension, a 3D reality, while its entire existence couldn't quite transform into this plane, so it appeared as a shadow of its full self. And so think about that. We have a shadow. What if we were to travel into another dimension, and if it was only, let's say, a 2D dimension or a 1D dimension, how would we appear in this other plane? Would only our shadow show itself? After all the years of dealing with this and thinking about it, it's clear to me that this being meant me no harm. And it's clear to me that it also wanted me to share my story. Perhaps it was one of the grays. It seems to fit all of the descriptions. And from what I understand, they are us in the future. What do you think?